My name is Ryan Gable, and I am running for constable in Montgomery County, Precinct 3. I've divested 19 years. January 15th was 19 years of service for me with the Harris County Constable's Office, Precinct 4. I'm the only candidate in this race that has a track record with improving the constable's business and the justice of the peace judge's business and their personnel for many years. I've taught for numerous organizations around the state. I still teach for these organizations around the state. I'm an expert in civil process in the state of Texas, which is a cornerstone of a constable's department. I'm endorsed by your current constable, Tim Hollyfield, who's announced his retirement in August, which is very important to me. I'm proud of. Let's see. I'm excited to do this for the right reason. My heart is in this, and my heart has been in this career ever since the day I turned 21 years old. And not only has it been in this business, but it's into bettering constables throughout the state of Texas. I've gone and fought legislative issues down in Austin that look out for JPs and constables through the state. So I'm always looking to provide a professional aspect and instill that into our newly elected officials as constables specifically. So I've handled the budget with a large organization. I've got experience with all aspects of law enforcement. I was undercover at 21 years old in a high school for a year. I went out onto patrol. I supervised a DWI task force, ran high-risk warrants, was a detective at an early age, and about 13 years ago started learning and teaching civil process. With that said, I believe I'm the best candidate for this position because I am the candidate that knows the constable's business. I am the candidate that on day one can walk into this office and look out for our community, our children, and our businesses, where I don't have to put somebody in place to teach me how to do these things. I can do that and go to work for you day one. With that said, I need and I want to ask for your endorsement tonight. At the end of the day, I feel like you're endorsing the proper candidate, or I know you would be endorsing the right candidate for this position. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Now I'm going to take the first chair privilege and ask the first question.
Yes, sir.
Our question number 2 asks about applying conservative principles to the office of constable.
Yes, sir.
And you gave a good answer there, fiscal responsibility and so forth. Conservatism actually has more than one axis. Fiscal is one of the axes. One of the other one is, if you want to call it social, moral, whatever. So in that dimension, how would you apply conservative principles to the office of the constable?
Well, that's a great question, and I was talking to the young lady out front just about our feelings on this. And number one, in today's times, a morally conservative person is hard to find in an elected official position. And is what I bring is 17 years of being married to my high school sweetheart. I bring a father to 2 children, and I bring an aspect of law enforcement where I have bettered our agency with a domestic violence aspect of law enforcement, computer crimes aspect, so we chase child predators. You know, this is something that is heartfelt to me. This is something where I believe that I've devoted so much of my heart, blood, sweat, and tears, I guess you could say, to fulfilling the role as a constable in this area and doing it for the right reasons. And I hope that answers your question.
Okay, good. Okay. Next question.
I just like a clarification. You work in precinct 3 now, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
He works in Harris County.
I work in the Harris County Constable's Office, Precinct 4, which is as soon as you cross out of Montgomery County into Harris County, you're in my precinct. And I'm a captain over there, over all the plainclothes people, just about.
Okay, do you live in Montgomery County?
Yes, ma'am.
Smart man.
Grew up in Spring my whole life, raising my family here. Yes, ma'am.
Next question, Mr. Crumby.
So from listening to the past, speeches and stuff, I get the impression that a couple of things I've heard you say, I guess I'd like you to just talk about it a little bit. One is that you're kind of for setting up some patrol on 45 to stop criminals going through and seizing property, and that you're also for kind of developing the department or the constable's office through grants and that sort of thing. Can you kind of elaborate?
I'm not sure with the I-45 enforcement. I do want to put the aspect of, we have MAP units in place that do a great job. There are district units we're going to allocate to proactive policing within the community, but some of the areas that I do want to bring into the Precinct 3 Constable's office are where I've had expertise, and that is a computer crimes division. A computer crimes division that we have built with my department solely on grant funding, so it didn't cost the taxpayer any amount of money. And I also want to look at domestic violence to protect our spouses against any abuse, all of which we as a constable's department built on grant funding that cost the taxpayer zero amount of money.
I'd like to kind of understand, how do you figure that grant money doesn't cost taxpayers anything? Because I don't quite get that.
Well, I tell you, that's a good question, because most grants pay a percentage of a position, whereas the county would have to ultimately pick up a small percentage. And these are things that we're going to focus on as an agency and go into doing. The things that I have the expertise in doing to be able to start up right away is to train an officer that's already in place to handle somebody that is looking for our children online or sharing child pornography or things like that. An officer we can put in place that can review a pass-on, that can call a spouse the next day and say, was your call handled appropriately? These are things that are not done up here in Montgomery County that are very simple to be put in place. So that is a good question, and to answer it specifically about grant funding and affecting the taxpayers, you're right, a small percentage does. But when we talk about domestic violence and we talk about computer crimes and child offenders, there's grant fundings readily available. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cabales.
Could you quickly give me the size of the department you're in now as opposed to Precinct 3 and total staff? And then I'm assuming it's a little bit smaller than the one you're in right now.
The department I'm in now, we are about 400 strong. We're larger than the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. We were just approved for right at a $33 million budget for this new fiscal year. The department I'm running for is about a 28 man-woman department carrying almost a $1.9 million budget.
Okay, and how would you increase visibility and interaction with the community with that smaller force?
Well, when you go back to what a constable's office is statutorily put in place to do, they're put in place to handle the court process. So we're going to focus on what a constable's office does. The constable's office up here in Montgomery County Precinct 3 is unique because they have the ability to serve civil process warrants and patrol the streets all at the same time. They have a small district force which you could put into school zones where it's important when school is letting in and out. And the department I come from, to brag a little bit, we're the best in the business with community-based policing. And I want to instill that in Precinct 3. We're going to be at your HOA meetings. We're going to be getting to know the people in the neighborhoods. And that's a priority we're going to focus on.
Okay, next question. Okay, is there anyone who's not yet had a chance to ask a question? You can ask one. Okay.
Mine's just a clarification. You're talking about federal grants, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I can tell you where those come from. Tax money.
I know where it comes from. Yes, sir.
And that's the point Mr. Crumby was trying to get at. Okay,
I
Larry
have a
Joe?
question just for my own information. I received a card the other day saying that we have a sexual predator in our neighborhood. We have several darling children just in the immediate block that I live in. Do the police keep tabs on those people.
Yes, ma'am. Your sheriff's department currently in place does predator checks. So they're responsible for coming by and making sure that they're registered at the proper address and things of that nature. Yes, ma'am.
They check on their movements.
Yes, the offender's required to provide information of their moving and things of that nature, and the sheriff's department has a position unique to checking those things.
That's the front doorbell, not the.
Oh,
Okay. Do we have another question? Mr. Wallace?
Even though everybody we talk to says, well, that's a federal problem, illegal immigrants in the area. What can a constable's office do to have an impact on that?
constable's office can utilize different aspects of policing. We can, if we can enforce loitering statute. We can enforce different criminal acts that they commit, whether they're doing some sort of criminal mischief. And is what a lot of people don't understand about criminal mischief is if they're at somebody's business and do something or trash some business, and it causes an inconvenience to the business owner because they've got to go pick that up. You have ways to handling those types of things with illegal aliens within our community, whether it's a camp, whether it's a work site where they're trying to obtain work, or driving vehicles. Legislature passed quite a while ago where we have the ability, if they don't have a driver's license or insurance, to tow their cars and send them down the road. Those are the things that we need to utilize as law enforcement. We need to position our authority to handle those things when it comes about.
So why aren't those things happening now? Because all the stories we hear are just the opposite. That, great, you have it in place, but it's not utilized. That's the thing that's frustrating to us as citizens, because, we drive the streets, our wives drive the streets, our kids, it's...
I tell you, it's frustrating to me too. So, I don't know why they don't put it in place. I can tell you that the agency I come from, we handled 500,000 calls for service last year with an average response time between 9 and 11 minutes. And there's no really police agency around the state that can say those things. And we had a huge, yes, time is up. Sorry, thank you.
Okay. Well, and we only got to one of my 15 questions, but oh well. What, a simple yes or no, is Tomball in your current jurisdiction?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Well, we thank you very much, and unfortunately, our time is up. So we'll have